Alright guys, at this point we'll be talking about the HTML style attribute. The style attribute is used to add certain design parameters to our HTML elements. And we shall soon see an instance where the style attribute is used to change the color of an H1 element. Let's turn our attention to the screen and see how the style attribute is incorporated into the opening tag of an element. And as we have established so far, to impute content on our web page, we use HTML elements. Now, to style these elements to take a particular design, color, background, shape, we need the style attribute. So with the HTML style attribute, we can get to style elements and give them a particular design we want on our web page. Let's take this from the point of the known to the unknown. What we know so far is this. This right here, it's a regular tag we know about. This is a H1 tag. And just like most tags in HTML, it has the opening tag and the closing tag, right? Good. We are going to introduce the style attributes onto these H1 elements. And take note of whatever change we will make to this element to accommodate the style attributes. Now observe, that same H1 element we saw a while ago is the same H1 element here, but the only difference is that it has only been modified to accommodate the style attribute. The modification is done only at the point of the opening tag. Every attribute in HTML is keyed in as the opening tag. Now, the style attribute equals a property and its value. This is the style property, and this is the value of this style property. The property is color, and we are assigning the value of red to this color. If we want to change the text or the font here to blue, we'll assign the color property a value of blue. Okay, now take note, between the property and the value pair of the style attribute is a colon. A colon is always used in between the property and the value pair to separate or assign a value to the property. Now, after the value, you have a semicolon. Take note again. Between the property and the value is a colon. After the value is a semicolon. So style equals property colon value semicolon. It's that straightforward. With these few points in mind, kindly turn your attention to our code editor as we practicalize using the style attribute to change the color of text on our web page. All right, now we at our code editor to demonstrate how we can use the style attribute to change this feature or design of an element. Let's go with the H1 element for a start and give it a headline of breaking news. Then let's add a P element, a paragraph of 100 words. So all we have in the body section of our web page of our code editor right now is the H1 element and the P element. Let's go to our browser and refresh to see if that's the case. Yes. So that's the heading of breaking news and a paragraph of about 100 words. What we're going to do with the style element is to use the style element to change the color of this breaking news from black to red. Over to the code editor, let's effect that line of code. In the H1 element, we'll simply key in a space and type in the style attribute. That's the style attribute. The property we want to change is the color of the H1. Color colon, giving it a red color. After the property value, remember, we key in a semicolon to show that that's the end. All right, let's go back to our browser to see if this short line of code has effected any change. That's right. The heading now has the font red. It has been changed from black to red color. Having done that, Let's turn our attention to the paragraph and change the paragraph from black to blue. Back to our code editor, we're focusing on the paragraph tag right now. All we have to do is key in the style attributes and color. We change the color to blue. After which you put a semicolon to end the declaration. Go back to our browser and refresh. The font color of the paragraph is now changed from black to blue. Easy peasy. Okay, let's revert back to the H1 tag, the heading tag, and change it from red to white. Let's see what happens. Change the color of the H1 from red to white. Red to white. Let's go back to our web page and refresh. Voila! The H1 tag just disappeared off the screen. What happened? Because we changed the color to white and the background is already white. So white and white, there's no contrast, it disappears. What can we do now to make the heading tag visible while the font color is still white? You know what? We can change the background color of the heading tag to a different color outside white. Now let's change the background color of this heading tag to green and see what happens. So we're going to be introducing an additional property. Remember, we already have the color set to white with the style attribute. Now, after the semicolon, we would introduce an additional property called background color. We set the background color to green. That's it. Upon setting the background color to green, upon setting the background color of the H1 to green, let's go refresh our page and see how it plays out. You see that? The background color of the H1 tag is green, the font color is white. So the contrast now makes the heading visible once again. What else do you notice about the H1 tag? Yeah, at this point, I want you to notice something. When we change the background color of the H1 element to green, you notice the green color ran from one end of the screen all the way to another. Why is that the case? Remember we talked about block level and inline level elements. The H1, just like the paragraph, is a block level element. So even if it's just two words that ended at this point, in reality, the element is running all the way from this point of the page to the end as depicted by the background color of green. Okay, the same thing with the paragraph. It ran from one end of the screen to the other end and wrapped around. Okay, next off, let's assume we don't want this paragraph to take the entire width of the screen, to run from one end of the screen from left to right. We want to contain it so that it takes just maybe half the width of the screen or just a certain portion. How do we do that? The style attribute to the rescue. With the style attribute, we can set the width or how wide the paragraph runs from beginning of the screen to the end. Let's go over to our code editor and use the same style attribute for the P tag to set the width of the paragraph on the web page. We're adding another property to the style attribute. Just click a space here and type width. We're trying to set the width of the paragraph. Set the width to 500 pixels. Go and refresh our page. We've now contained the width of the paragraph down to 500 pixels. If you go over and change it to 300 pixels and refresh the page, it further comes down. That is how the style attributes can give features and styling we want to be depicted on our web page. All right, that's that on that. Let us revert the paragraph back to its full screen width by removing the width attribute from our paragraph. Let's leave just the color of blue. Refresh and the paragraph go back to its full screen width. What I want us to do now is to introduce an image into this our web page. We go and key in an image after the paragraph. That's the image tag img. The source of the image, let's go online to get an image from pexels.com. All right. Okay, let's just look for images of cars. Oh yes. And here we got it, a Mercedes. So let's right click on this image and copy the image link. We'll go over to our code editor and paste the image link. If we refresh our web page, that's the image of the Mercedes cars, premium cars right there. All right, now we want to use the style attribute to restrict the size of this image. The image is too wide. Let's contain it down to, let's say, half the size. All right, we'll go over to our image elements, introduce the style attribute, and set the width of the image to 400 pixels. Go over and refresh our web page. We've reduced the size of the image to 400 pixels. Let's say we want to contain it further down to, say, 250 pixels. Refresh. You see that the style attribute has been used to contain the size of the image and cut it down to something a bit more appropriate. That's the style attribute in action. It is as simple as that. It takes in The style attribute takes in a, a property and a value. The property here is the width. The value of the width is 250 pixels. Let's talk a little bit about pixels. Pixels is a unit of measurement in web design. Just the way we have centimeters and meters in mathematics, in web design, the unit of measurement is, one of them is the pixels. All right. So just like saying 250 centimeter or 250 millimeters in mathematics, why in web design we just say 250 pixels. Okay. All right, guys, over to you. Take it away from here. Go ahead and practice using the style attribute to modify the features and design of HTML elements. I know you can do it.